Can you imagine the logistics of having the film at Comic-Con? I mean, that's impressive. Kudos to them. Ted 2 is directed by Seth MacFarlane, co-written by him, Alex Sulkin, and Wellesley Wild. It stars Mark Wahlberg, Amanda Seyfried, and Jessica Parth, and features the voice once again of Seth MacFarlane as Ted. And in Ted 2, Ted wants to marry his girlfriend Tami-Lynn, played by Jessica Parth, but through a series of different legal concerns, Ted's humanity is put into question, and he has to prove in a court of law that he is in fact a person. Now, I read that Ted 2 was supposed to have a completely different plot, wherein Ted, John, played by Mark Wahlberg, and Laurie, played by Mila Kunis from the first movie, would be going cross-country to like transport pot or something, but they scrapped it because the other movie, We're the Millers, took that storyline. But I think they should have stayed with that one because it stays closer to the spirit of what Ted really is, not this one. And I will say that I didn't really enjoy Ted 2 that much. I think that Seth MacFarlane proves that he's still a talented guy in this movie. It's just that the tone is all over the place and the writing is even more all over the place. Now, the weird thing about Ted 2 is that even if it takes place 3 years after, Ted 1, the character of Ted as a CGI creation somehow seems less believable here than he did in the first movie. And I think that's because he moves a lot more here, especially in this long, extended dance sequence in the opening credits. It kind of just takes you out of it, like, it doesn't feel like this is a stuffed bear come to life anymore because he just kind of seems like a cartoon character bouncing around. And I don't know if they used motion capture in the first movie, but I heard that they used it here, and it's more obvious that they did use motion capture here because of all the extra movements that make him seem like, in action figure terms, like he has more points of articulation than he's supposed to have. This movie also suffers, unfortunately, from less clever uses of songs like in the first movie, and Walter Murphy's score here isn't as memorable or impressive as it was the first time around. And if the editing in the first movie made Ted seem like a good extended episode of Family Guy, here the editing by Jeff Freeman makes this feel like a really long and uneven sketch comedy, unfortunately. The pacing really is all over the place because the movie always feels more preoccupied with the current gag or joke that's going on and not the overarching plot. Whenever it kind of goes to this arbitrary joke, you really just, the main story just really screeches to a halt and you kind of forget about what's happening. And speaking of that story, the plot itself here tries to do way too many things and ends up not really committing to any of those things because it starts out being a relationship drama like the first movie, and then it becomes this whole courtroom drama thing, and then it becomes a road movie, and it becomes like some sort of thriller at the end, which is what they tried to do with the last movie. And none of this stuff works. You can really see it in the courtroom scenes, which feel really half-hearted, and it's not convincing at all. And for me, the first Ted worked in terms of plot because of its simplicity. It stayed focused on these three central characters, but here, because they're trying to do so much, you don't really care about like a lot of these relationships that are going on because it's so focused on, other things. Unfortunately, the characters as well aren't really that well realized. I think John is really kind of pushed aside and he becomes a supporting character here, which is for me a wrong move because he was such a good part of that first movie. And once again, the female characters here are really underdeveloped. Tami-Lynn doesn't really have enough to do, I think. They really just kind of ditch her halfway through the movie. And Amanda Seyfried's character is even more one-dimensional than Laurie was in the first movie. And unfortunately, with the writing, it's still hit or miss here, but I think there are way more misses than hits, unfortunately. One other thing that this movie relies too much on, I think, are cameos. There are too many cameos here that work more like sight gags than actual cameos. They're just, throwaway instances where this celebrity pops up and it's not funny. And Morgan Freeman has like an extended cameo here, and he's clearly phoning it in. Like, he does not crack a smile or any hint of emotion throughout his scenes, and it's clear that he's probably doing it for the paycheck. And Seth MacFarlane is technically speaking a good director, I feel, but his tone is just too all over the place here. In the sense that Ted 2 actually feels more like a drama most of the time than it does feel like a comedy, which makes the brash, like, offensive comedy feel really out of place. And when there is drama, it's mostly really heavy-handed and it's sometimes overly serious, so it doesn't really work on either way. But I will say there are a couple of things that redeem Ted 2 from being a bad movie. For one, I feel like while there are more misses than hits here with the jokes, some of the hits really are gold. Like, I found this one scene where they used the Jurassic Park theme to be really, really funny, and there are lots of big laughs throughout the movie as well. And like I said, Seth MacFarlane really proves he's still talented, especially as a voice actor. He really turns in a very emotional performance here as Ted, and it was really impressive. But in the end, I still didn't really like Ted 2 overall. It's still kind of a meh, mediocre movie. I think it would be really enjoyable for you if you really dug the first one. I just found it pretty good, so I didn't enjoy this one, but yeah. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Ted 2. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, whether you agreed with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.